Hi, so my name is Theresia Kody. I am class of 2011, a psychology major, and I am a freelance workforce development consultant and entrepreneur. So my current role, I bridge oftentimes siloed systems such as disability and workforce development to basically increase the effective services for the people that they're serving and they're intended to serve. This includes training and innovation, project management, as well as asking why to better understand how the organizations may be able to move forward and to grow. My entry path right after St. Joe's, I was actually a 1099 independent contractor working for a small disability service provider that had a focus on inclusive services and lifestyle. I got involved at all levels within that provider, from fiscal to the details to training to helping her build her organization. And then from there, I went to work for a company focused entirely on workforce development, learning the ins and outs and other funding streams. And from there, just continued to grow, got back involved with disability specific and organizational change, culture shifts. And then my next step was focused within an organization solely focused on training for disability service providers. I would say that there's not a typical path by any means, at least to my knowledge. However, I would say in terms of the path, ask questions, seek to find solutions, network, and let your interest and knowledge for the work that you do and that you love shine. I have needed to develop, and I feel that others, it's helpful to develop. There are a lot, however, just knowing that you can always practice and continue to refine. I would say time management, empathy, emotional intelligence, curiosity with that, just that lifelong learner commitment, that mindset, self-motivation, self-management is really a key skill. Prioritization, and there are some other skills, but specifically some skills from St. Joe's that really helped me, that I was able to really help develop and continue to practice. Critical thinking is huge, between looking at policies, seeking out solutions, understanding nuances, that is absolutely critical. Effective communication, including writing. Shout out to Dr. Anastasio in the psych department who really helped me develop and hone my skill. But effective communication is key because you're communicating with a variety of people and everyone has different communication skills and styles. And so being able to express your points and most importantly, actively listen, that is also a key component to communication. Networking and determinants of behavior, because again, you're connecting with people, you're seeking to understand. So those are just some of the key skills I feel are important in this role. Preparing for a career like mine, some activities that you might want to consider to engage in would be service learning, Apex, Appalachian Experience, the Psych Club, or this wasn't around when I was there, but SHRM. And I say that, with the acknowledgement that really follow your interests and choose to learn in any space you occupy. Whatever those interests are, seek to learn within your role within that organization. And since it's kind of impossible to be involved in everything, seek out friends who are involved in a variety of clubs because you'll learn from them naturally. Networking tips, whether it be virtual or in person, set yourself up to be you authentically, true to yourself. One example, for instance, I was really nervous at a networking event. This is going back a few years. And I knew that I couldn't step into the middle of where everybody was. I knew that I felt more comfortable kind of on the side. And so what I did is I stood closer to the wall outside of the hustle and bustle of this group in an area. And by doing so, by staying true to myself and acknowledging my comfortability, I actually ended up meeting more people at that event, because people would come up to me and say that they felt comfortable approaching me because I was by myself, I was to the side, they could, see that I was approachable. And so I would definitely say, stay true to yourself in reading the room, right? Because you're trying to understand what's happening in the room and how can you add value in that space. You want to follow up, whether it's LinkedIn or email, or maybe even you're getting a business card. Follow up in some capacity, and however you save their contact information, make a note of the date that you met them and a little bit about that first conversation, even if it's something not work related. Because when you go back, even if it's a year later after your follow-up, you have that point of reference, and it will help continue to show that investment in the relationship and know that you acknowledge that first conversation that you had with them. Some barriers that I've experienced, I would say just first, the cost of education, it takes a lot, right? And so all of the components that come with that and how you navigate where your heart is set and, where you're pulled for your, the way you plan on serving and showing up in life. I would say my age has actually been a pretty big barrier within my career, oftentimes getting asked of, how did you get so much experience? Because I always have showed up with a desire to learn and to seek out. And so people often questioned me and focus more on years of experience versus the quality within those years that have shaped my career. Another barrier I would say has been my gender. For example, I was in a room with mostly men, and so I had shared an idea, and the supervisor, who was also a man, kind of disregarded it and kept the conversation moving. Right after that, a colleague sitting next to me, also a man, repeated almost verbatim the idea I said. And the supervisor was, "Oh, that's a great idea." And luckily afterwards, because of the relationship that I had with the man who had basically said verbatim what I said, I had a conversation with him and he didn't realize that. And that kind of goes back to the listening, but I brought it to his attention, and then he was then able to go to the supervisor and have that conversation as well. So I would say that those have been some examples of the barriers I've faced. So many resources out there. So it can be a lot. One professional organization that I would recommend would be checking into APSE, the Association of People Supporting Employment First. Why? Is because it's solely focused on disability in employment. It's the only national membership organization doing this and has been doing it since the late 80s. It crosses, disability. It crosses all genders, all ages, race, ethnicities, and it's an area that any one of us could enter at any time. So having this understanding and ability to approach with a more universal design mindset will help in whatever work you do. wish someone would have told me, I mean, first off, it's okay to have to move back home for one. But on a little bit of a more serious note, it would have been helpful to be told that there isn't always a linear, clear path forward. Sometimes that path is meant for you. And so it's not going to look like others or a traditional pathway. And it's okay to forge that path as long as you are approaching it with that learning mindset and um, that ability to be confident in who you are and your path. And I say that to say because I don't know many people who have my path and also my knowledge and expertise. So sometimes you're creating the path, and that's okay.